Hey, welcome on in, Heat fans. Miami Heat lose tonight, 135-122. They were playing the Denver Nuggets. Probably it was a predetermined thing. They never beat the Denver Nuggets. What is this? Regular season, this is 8 out of 9. Extend the NBA Finals in there. You guys can do the math. This is about as one-sided ownership on the basketball end as you could go like Dolphins-Bills if you want to use a football sticking point for it. I mean, this team has the Heat's number. And also, and it's just, it always just feels like playing that team. It's so friggin' exhausting because it genuinely feels like any time Miami plays them, you get this false sense of security, and then bang, couple haymakers, and you're just on the incline on the treadmill all over again. You know, Miami was looking pretty good in the second quarter. They had a moment where they had cut it to 4. You had back-to-back threes from Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier. It was 62-58. And you're like, all right, here we go. But right away, Brown hits a 3 to get it to 7. And then bam, it was fouled by Joker. You could get it back to 5. And then you get back-to-back threes from MPJ and Brown right at the buzzer. They're at 11. So it just was like, all right, all that work, and then bang, bang, it's all gone. And, Nikola Jokic, he just plays the game like a fiddle, dude. I mean, the guy's an absolute maestro. Just like he's playing a different sport than everybody else. Like, Bam's out here, and he's trying to wrestle with this just Serbian moose who's giving him 30 points, 11 rebounds, 14 assists, 11 of 13 from the field. Jesus. Yeah, he's incredible and just sets up his teammates in the right way. And it really did feel like, Miami had a hold on things and was okay, and then all of a sudden, nah. So the third quarter comes around. Trend of the season has been hitting the West Coast trip too, because Miami got down by 26 points. Denver started the third quarter on a 20-5 run. Then Miami was able to get into the 3-point game a little bit. Tyler Hero had a very impressive third quarter, and so what felt like it was going to be the end of the game, it was only a 33-30 period. And so Miami kind of hung around. They were down 14 going into it. And then you get to the fourth quarter and, they were just, Miami was sticking around, and you were getting threes from mostly Duncan Robinson was I would say the big catalyst there in the fourth quarter. He, set up a beautiful Bam Adebayo slam. Then he hit a 3. And Miami got it to 7, which was about as close as they got it again. And then, just like the finals, who was there to always shut down the run? It was Jamal Murray. So it really is like, it almost feels like a cat playing with a mouse when it comes to this matchup. Miami plays valiantly, but it just feels like Denver can always do whatever they want when they want. And that was just the feeling it was watching this game tonight. And if you want to dive into the offense about it, fine, but they shot 62% tonight, guys. I mean, I don't know, you want the Heat to go out there and shoot like the Harlem Globetrotters, like you got to be able to get stops, and there were periods where they could get stops, but a lot of it was when Joker was sitting down. When he doesn't sit, they're a disaster. He's a plus 26 tonight himself. So, it was valiant, but I don't think Eric Spoelstra was too pleased afterwards. I think it annoys him that they can't beat this team. I think it's probably because that Michael Malone is pretty annoying himself. He's always making little pot shot jokes and whatnot, and just his face in general. But you got to respect it. I mean, he's had the Heat's number. Biggest headline out of this, honestly, more than anything, before we get to some of Spo's comments, Jimmy Butler is now hurt for the first time this season. He got hurt very early in the game. About 6 minutes in, he turned around and immediately is tweaked his ankle. They take him out. He goes right to the locker room. Very shortly thereafter, the Heat send out a notice that he's done for the game. And that's another thing that seems like it happens against Denver a lot. I can recall the time when Jimmy was out. I don't remember. I think it was the year that the Heat were the 1 seed. It was either that or the post-COVID year. I can't remember. But Jimmy had come back after a long tenure, and then it landed right on his tailbone, and then missed another significant amount of time. And you just had to know. I told you guys with Jimmy, people who were expecting Jimmy to play 70 games this year, it was an outlandish thing. He gets these nicks and bruises, and he typically does early in the season. I'm not going to expect him to play against the Minnesota Timberwolves because I know Jimmy Butler's past. Jimmy Butler is going to probably miss a handful of games. Maybe by the time they get back from the road trip, he'll be good to go. If I'm wrong and something else happens, okay. But they're in the cold. They're traveling to Minnesota. I'm going to be surprised if Jimmy Butler is going to be back to good to go. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we get the word that, you know what, he's going back to Miami to get treatment on it. It didn't look like I got to go look at it again because it's pretty early. Let me just get another look at the video because it was he kind of just spun and was down. And I was it didn't look like a significant injury, but it didn't. It was kind of a weird. It was a weird bend over. I'm watching it right now in slow mo. So he is trying to put a spin on Jamal Murray, and his right ankle kind of rolls over a little bit, but there was nobody there. He didn't step on anybody. So. Maybe he did step on Murray's shoe. Did they trip up with each other? Kind of. They're step for step. Murray's trying to keep up with him. But he kind of plants weird and then rolls over his ankle. And you can see him grimacing immediately. He walks off. He doesn't, he doesn't look in a significant amount of pain as he's walking off. But this is the ankles, that's been a thing that's nagged Jimmy for a long time. It's obviously a pretty common basketball injury as well, but the Heat are probably going to have to go a little bit without Jimmy Butler. They're going to have to go a little bit without Jimmy Butler, I would guess. I'm not a doctor. I'm just going by the guy's past. So my best guess is if he is going to come back, even if you gave him a couple of games off, let's see. They're in action on Sunday. I'll be skeptical that he plays in that one unless this is something that just feels – because the thing was, it was he was out. It wasn't he played through it. We're nah, he's done. But if he doesn't play, they don't have they have a game Sunday, Tuesday, and then not another one till Friday. So if he can go the next couple, and they got Detroit one of those games. So, and hell, he never beats the Timberwolves anyway. Maybe it's better to not have Jimmy Butler anyway. But maybe you give him a week off. He comes back for the Trailblazers. That would be significant for Miami. Eric Spoelstra, as I mentioned, he was pretty livid after the loss. I mean, Miami drops to 3-5 now, and just doesn't seem like they have, other than Tyler Hero scoring, just doesn't have a grasp yet of who are the guys that he trusts? Now he's got Jimmy out. Jaime, the good news about Jimmy being out, Jaime should definitely be back for the next game. I'd imagine he is with the team. Maybe Kevin Love will be too. So they'll get a little bit of reserve there to help him out. And in fact, probably if I would venture to guess if Jimmy's out, they might start. Maybe they even start Jaime. And if they don't, I don't know. Do they go Pella? That's another story for another day. But yeah, he had a couple of interesting quotes about this. He says that we have to be a lot better. He says you can make as much money as you want, but you have to earn wins. And you have to do tough things. He ended it with saying you have to do tough things. That's a Spo. That's always going to be a Spo thing when he sees the opponent shoot the way that they did. But that was an interesting thing. I don't know where the money line comes from. I was kind of like, who is that a line that felt like it was a message at somebody? I don't know. It was, Bam's typically done a good job tonight. I would say Bam played okay. I mean, like he finished with 20 and 9. But this was a masterclass for Jokic tonight. There was at one point he was very, very frustrated because he gets the bucket. Jovic hits him on the head. No call for Bam. And then on the other side, Duncan Robinson breathes on Joker. Foul call for him. So I think there was some frustration there. But I don't think it was a shot at Bam. Was it a shot at Jimmy? I don't know. Maybe it was just things that he was saying. It was also maybe a play because the answer beforehand, somebody had asked him about why Nico wasn't playing so much because Nico got a little bit of run-ski in the third quarter, hit some threes, so it was good to see him. I actually thought it was kind of a bummer because he got this bucket in the first quarter where he got that patented off the rebound, goes coast to coast, and I was like, man, that looked like Nikola Jokic. He looked like Nikola Jovic, excuse me. He got to he looked like himself for a second, but there's something that's missing there with Spo that he seems to be ready to pull the plug because he said he knows the standard, he knows the deal. It's not an indictment, but you have to make an impact on the scoreboard. And then he said something to the effect of I'm paid to make these decisions. We were playing uphill and, I got to make decisions at that point. So it sounded like, he's not putting it all on Jovic, but it does make it seem like there's still some things that are missing there that he's not ready to play him. And then he also gave Kel'el Ware a brief cup of coffee today, but I think what did he give him? He gave him 2 minutes. 2 minutes against Joker, and he goes, "That's enough." He's like, "I've seen enough. No more. We're not." And to be fair, there's part of me that's like, "Hey, throw him to the wolves. Let's see what he can do." You're doing it with Pella, but then there's another side that's like, "Don't drown the kid's confidence too much." So it was a frustrating night. A valiant effort. You appreciate the comeback, but also it felt like Miami was fighting out of its weight class tonight, which it's become all too common against the Nuggets. It doesn't really feel. It feels like Miami's a welterweight versus a heavyweight. That's what it feels like. They got punched, but not nearly enough to put any knockout blows whatsoever. So they move on, and we'll see where this leads them to when they got to square off against the T-Wolves.